One last technique I wanted to make sure you're familiar with is masking. Now, masks in Moho work differently than in other programs you might be familiar with, so it warrants its own video. Let's start with the most basic example. I'm going to add an image layer and import an image, and we're going to make a mask that reveals a portion of this image. So I'll make a vector layer, and I'm going to call it mask, and then I'll draw a circle on it. Next, we need to put whatever you want to mask and the mask itself in a group together. So I'll make a group and put our two layers inside it. You want your mask at the bottom. Now in the layer settings for the group, we go to the masking tab and set it to hide all. So layers that we've set to get masked will get hidden by default, and the mask layer will reveal them. Now in this case it correctly understood what I was trying to get it to do, but just in case it doesn't work for you, let's go into the settings for the layers and see what they need to be set to make this work right. In the settings for the image layer on the masking tab, you want that to mask this layer. And then on the settings for the mask layer on the masking tab, we want this to add to the mask. So now if we reposition or animate the mask, it's going to reveal the image that's set to be masked. You can also have multiple layers adding to the mask. I can make another vector layer with another shape on it, and I can set that to add to the mask too. So you can have separate elements that you can animate separately, both contributing to the masking effect. You can also make your mask work the opposite way. You would set the mask setting on the group to reveal all, and then the setting on the mask layers to subtract from mask. So now the mask layers hide instead of reveal. Next, let's look at a practical example of how you'll frequently use masks, and that's to do eyes. So here we've got the three layers for the eye base, which is the whites, the iris, and the highlight over top. So we want to be able to move the iris around without it going outside the eyeball. So let's select all these and make that a group. Then we'll go into the group and turn on masking. We want it set to hide all. Then we need to make sure the layers have the right settings. We want the highlight and iris to be masked while the eye base adds to the mask. So now we can move the iris around and it never goes outside the eye base layer. But you'll notice it's going over top of the stroke around the eye base. But there's an easy way to fix that. So let's go to the mask settings and check the exclude strokes option. Then it will only use the visible part of the fill to do the masking. So now when I move the iris around, it looks more like how we want. Also, while we're here, this is a case where we want the artwork for the mask itself to be visible because it's the whites of the eyes. But if you wanted to, you could also set it to add to the mask but make the mask invisible. And that might be what you want for a different situation. So that's the basics of masking. There's a bunch of ways we'll use that later on when we get to rigging a character. To prepare us for that, we need to get familiar with the various features we'll use for rigging an animation. We'll do that in the next set of videos. I'll see you there.